Hello and welcome to today's episode of Gotham Sound TV. I am very excited to show you and bring you the Ferrofish A32 Dante. This is new to the market. It's been there's been a progression of converters that Ferrofish has come out with, and this is their latest and greatest, and includes Dante. So we'll go with an overview, and we'll sort of talk about the different features that this has, and I'll show you the user interface. It's pretty straightforward. It's incredibly flexible, and it's really something that's kind of perfect for our market. So. All right, so first of all, what is it? It is an A to D and D to A converter, 32 analog in, 32 analog out. It also can do Dante and MADI, both optical and coax, and also has built-in DSP, so meaning that you can make a little mix, you can certainly monitor different inputs, and we'll get into some other future possibilities down the road with it. Here's the unit. I think what we'll do is we'll spin it around this way, and we'll sort of look at the front to begin with. Let's go to the main sort of home screen. Okay, so here is the main home screen, and you can see, let me just see if I need to focus this a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so you can see it's got 4 TFT, I think they're TFT LCD screens. That's your main sort of interface. That combined with an encoder knob and a selector button. That's really it. They sort of boast in the manual that there's really, you don't really need to read the manual. I think you do need to read the manual, but you can figure it out just looking at the screens. So the main way we're going to do this is push the menu button. That gets you into a menu. And here we have our main menu. I'm not going to go through each and every option, but there's options for what kind of clock source you use. And so you can pick your master. Any of the inputs can be the master clock source. To exit a menu, to go up a level, you hold the menu button down. You have options for your mix. Lots of 7 different presets, and again, hold for half a second to get you out. It does not have a built-in Dante controller, and we'll get to that in a second, but it does allow you to have to show all of the digital inputs and outputs on this one screen, and also these are the different Dante settings that you have. So you can make this particular unit the preferred master within the Dante network. You can derive the word clock from this unit, that it'll make this be the master clock using incoming word clock, which is helpful. AES67 modes. It's got the latest Dante card firmware. So really very, very sophisticated Dante control there. This is the heart of the unit that we're coming to in terms of setting it up. So within the main menu is the setup screen, and when we choose that, here's where things get really interesting. So you have gains on all the inputs, and as you can see, by the way, I don't know if you guys can hear the click through my microphone, but that's defeatable in one of the settings. So here you can go through the individual gain settings. So if I want to choose, well, I can choose them all and change the analog input levels on MOS, like so. I can also do it, whoops, one at a time. So there we go. Now, that's the analog input levels. I can change the output levels. Routing, so this is intense, bear with me for a minute while we go through this. On the very leftmost screen is a kind of matrix, sort of reminiscent of the Dante routing matrix in the controller. And then on these three LCD screens, and I don't know, let me see if I could make that a little bit more readable. I'm going to zoom in just a tad. And focus. Okay, so routing-wise, I have to admit this threw me a little bit, but it starts with the outs. So you sort of think about what you want to see at the outputs, and then you can choose either in groups of 8, and certainly you can drill down into that screen to get it 1-to-1, or what might be easier is in chunks. So, for example, if I wanted to change, instead of analog, my analog outs being reflected from my Dante inputs, I can make them be my MADI inputs, like that. And so that's routing. There's MADI options, there's MIDI options, there's additional settings, BNC termination, and so on. You can lock the settings out, and I'm going to skip DSP for the moment. One thing to keep in mind is that all of these things can be stored in multitudes of presets. So, for example, if you had a preset that was concert recording, that could be stored. If you had another preset that was wireless microphone monitoring or additional outputs from a mixer, that's another preset. I'm going to back out for a moment. Go to Setup. Oh, presets. Okay, so that's really it for the menu. There is DSP, but my understanding from the distributor is that these are not yet active. That these are forthcoming. And in fact, so if we see here, main mixer sends an independent mix to a selected analog stereo output. Very handy, but for right now, you're sort of locked into it. And so let's get out of here. Yep. No code. Okay. While we're looking, I'm going to spin this around this way, and we'll look at the back. In some ways, the back is equally interesting. I'm going to zoom out. Bear with me. Okay. There we go. Okay. So starting from my left, we have Dante primary and secondary, and 2 DC inputs, which are very, very cool. Redundant DC supplies, and I'm going to get to why I think that's important in a minute. Word clock in and out, MADI over coax, optical MADI, ADAT, still a thing. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned it does ADAT as well. ADAT doesn't really get the due, all its due anymore, but it does do ADAT. All right, back here. USB presently for firmware updates, MIDI for remote control, and then your analog in and out on Tascam compatible D subs. And then just to sort of show that it really is a real Dante thing, we have it hooked up to a Yamaha mixer. So if we go over to the computer screen, here's how it shows up. There's the Dante controller. We have a bunch of receive and transmit signals. So we're not utilizing this in the best way possible, but you get the idea. All right. So, use case scenarios for this. I'm going to rotate this so you guys can see it. I think that for people using a Pix recorder or any Dante or like a Cantor, any Dante-enabled recorder, I think that this is a phenomenal addition. You instantly have an additional 32 inputs. But one of the things that I have been really inspired by is working with Ferrofish on the remote control part of it. So a great use case scenario, because it's DC powered, stack this with a bunch of venues and have your audio travel over Cat5 cable into your recorder with remote control of the audio levels. So I think that it's got huge potential for that. It can also be if you're sort of going old school, you have a Cooper mixer and you want to get those all of those signals. Obviously, this has 32 inputs, and your Cooper would have 8 pre-fade plus your mix. That's only 10, but you have a lot of room for expansion. So, any questions? No. All right. I think that'll do it. A quick overview. Gotham Sound, New York, we'll have it. Gotham Sound, Atlanta, we'll have it soon after. Give us a call, come by, come visit. Next week, we'll be at NAB in Vegas, very excited. Hope to see a lot of exciting products and see all of you there, either in person or in virtually. So gothamsound.com/NAB 2017. And Gotham Sound Expo. If you can't make Vegas, come to the Expo Saturday, May 13th here in Long Island City, right by Kaufman Astoria Studios. Visit the video archives, gothamsound.tv, and send your ideas and questions to info@gothamsound.com. Thank you for watching. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, guys.